Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the show around the nation right here. Jeff Waldorf here with you. Got a great show for you guys today. On this, like I said, Friday evening fun times. We're going to talk, well, obviously we're going to talk about conservative projection, one of my favorite topics. So we will discuss that. Moving the camera around here. We've got also Sarah Huckabee Sanders, caught again in lies. She is a pathological liar. Then we have an ex-Trump campaign official talking about NDAs. That's fun. AOC. Then got a great Roger Stone story. Oh, Roger Stone. I haven't talked about him for quite some time. Looks like he's in a little bit of trouble. Interesting. And we'll talk about that, plus the reaction to it. There's obviously fun social media, so we'll talk about that. Altogether, it's going to be a fun Friday show. So we will talk about that. Now, there's a segment on Laura Ingraham, which is actually really important. That's projection from her, massive projection. And in it, of course, we're going to be talking about the would-be domestic terrorist. So that's an interesting story. We're going to see the right wing's reaction, her reaction specifically. And so we'll break that down. Okay. So, anyway, if you haven't already, please give us a like and share on social media. And of course on YouTube. That helps the show, of course. I want to give a shout out to some patrons here. Let's start out with Brian Scheffler, C. Innocent, Callie McLean, Carrie Hawkins, Carol Mello, and hey, I'm actually on the second page. Kathy Healy, Charles Goodman, Cheryl, Chris Chaplin, and Chris Hakala. So all those are patrons. I'm going alphabetical down the list. So thank you guys for being patrons, for supporting independent progressive media. You want to sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. Or if you want to just be a member through YouTube, that's probably pretty easy to set up as well. And that's $4.99 a month, and you can hit the join button in order to do that. Okay. Then I think we have another donation for the camera through the GoFundMe campaign. So we are, I should say we're pretty close to our goal here. Let's see. Gregory Jones. So thank you, Gregory. I appreciate the donations to the camera fund. We're almost done. We've almost raised enough money for the camera. And of course, I'll have to go through and figure out what kind of camera we're going to get and, what we want, etc. So, and that should probably take some time. And hopefully, in a couple months, we'll have that brand new camera. We'll show you guys. I do have something else to show you. And I think that you will really like this because you helped earn this. And we got something in the mail today. Whoops. Fucking boom. Look at that. That is our 100,000 subscriber plaque. Oh, yeah. That right there. I don't know if you... That damn light. But it says, presented to TYT Nation for passing 100,000 subscribers. And you can see the little reflection there. You can see my blinds. Check that out. They're all dusty. So we got it. That's awesome. That's something that you helped us get. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. You guys helped me get that. I would not be here. Wouldn't be doing this show without you guys. And we're going to hang that up at some point in the new office. More news on that coming in the next couple months. So, that said, thank you. Let's get to the stories. Let's have some fun. Let's start out with Sarah. Oh, Sarah. All right. So following the revelations that there was a suspected domestic terrorist plot by a man named Christopher Hassan, who was taken into custody earlier this week after officials found out that this lieutenant that's apparently in the Coast Guard has been stockpiling weapons and planned to do a killing spree against the media and Democrats. So this is politically motivated, or would have been politically motivated, and would have been considered a terrorist attack if it had been through. Now, part of that plot, I should say part of the reason is, look, he went after the media, calling the media the enemy of the people, right? Now, that sounds familiar. Haven't we heard that somewhere before? A certain, president of the United States calling the media the enemy of the people. Oh, right, Donald Trump. Nonetheless, Sarah Huckabee Sanders had to go out and defend Trump and said that, oh, no. Donald Trump has never encouraged violence. He has a history, of course, not encouraging violence. In fact, he is the first person to come out and defend against that and to condemn violence. And so I want to show you that video of her talking right now.
I certainly don't think that the president at any point has done anything but condemn violence against journalists or anyone else. In fact, every single time something like this happens, the president is typically one of the first people to condemn the violence, and the media is the first people to blame the president. We should all join together and start condemning the violence, whether it's against members of the media, whether it's against Democrats, Republicans, any person in this country that is unacceptable. And that's why every time it comes up, we have been consistent and repeatedly said that we condemn violence in all forms.
Survey says that's a lie. Let me give you a couple of examples here. In 2015, Donald Trump, this is Trump himself, the guy who supposedly condemns violence every time and does not encourage violence at all, right? You heard her, doesn't encourage violence. In fact, the president's the first one to condemn violence. Okay. Well, in 2015, Trump said that a protester at one of his rallies, quote, should have been roughed up after he was punched by a Trump supporter. In 2016, Trump encouraged supporters to, quote, knock the crap out of protesters at one of his rallies and said, don't worry, I'll pay your legal fees. Don't worry about it, I'll pay your legal fees. I don't know, that kind of sounds like encouraging violence when you tell somebody to knock the crap out of someone. And then in 2018, and I talked about this story. I covered this. You guys remember Gian Fort in Montana, right? This is a guy who body slammed a reporter. Well, Trump said, "Oh, he body slammed a reporter. That's my kind of guy. That's my kind of guy. Any guy who could do a body slam. He's my kind of guy." Gee, I wonder if you get the impression that he encourages violence. And then again, of course, you talk about the media being the enemy of the people, right? Well, what do you do to an enemy of the people? Well, and some people in their deranged minds would think, well, obviously, you have to do what you have to do. Second Amendment solutions. Now, that was a phrase that was said during the campaign, I believe. So, come on, man. To say that he has never encouraged violence at his rallies, that is a plain, flat-out lie. So now, of course, social media chimed in, and I love it. Marnot Grizzly says, yes, press secretary. Every day I hear Donald Trump saying that the press is the friend of the people. Great friends. Strong friends. Matthew Prorock says, he literally called journalists the enemy of the people 2 days ago and said networks which air content he doesn't like should face retribution 4 days ago. Oh, weird. Gene Bianco says, I'm sure he condemns it after he entices it every damn single day. Now, that's an important point because what the president is doing is he's gaslighting America. So now he comes out and says, "Oh, knock the crap out of him." And then another says, I completely condemn violence. Yeah, after large amounts of pressure put on him by like people in the White House and his advisors and things like that. And they're like, dude, maybe you shouldn't say that. Maybe you shouldn't say knock the crap out of him. You got to come out now. I mean, look, how long did it take for President Trump to come out and condemn the Charlottesville protesters? These are the Charlottesville neo-Nazis, I should say, who ran over a counter-protester. How long did it take? No, there are good people on both sides. Great people. How long did it take him? It took him quite a long time to distance himself from that. From people who are openly doing violence. There are numerous examples. So don't tell me that he has never encouraged violence at his rallies. He always encourages violence and then lies about it afterwards. And look, I don't know who's worse, Donald Trump or the people who are of right mind that defend him at all costs. People like Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She may be one of the worst. Now, more tweets here. You Woke Now says, press secretary is a pathological liar, a 45 sycophant, and a worker of iniquity. It's painful to watch and listen to her deceptive, deceiving propaganda. She has no sunken place. I would say that she is a sunken place. Her morality has sunk to a brand new low. And look, when it comes to Trump and the rest of the people that are still around him, still on his side, there is no bottom to that barrel. There is no more that you can sink. No more lower you can sink. PWAC says, she holds a PhD in gaslighting. Absolutely. The Moody Foodie, love that, says, how about the times he encouraged his supporters at rallies to attack protesters, as I talked about before, saying how he would pay their legal fees, saying people should be carried out on a stretcher. Is that his idea of condemning? And words are, make something important for the evangelical followers, quote, thou shalt not bear false witness. You want to call yourself a Christian, Sarah? You just bear false witness. You constantly lie for what is, I don't know, pretty close to idol worship, right? Because that's who President Trump is. He is nothing more than an idol, right? And he is deeply, deeply immoral, calls for violence, and then lies about it. He is a pathological liar, and the only reason that he became president is to help himself and his own family at the expense of the American people. So, and he, I think, will do anything he can to hold on to his power, and part of that is going after his perceived political enemies. And that's what it is. And that's what this is, going after the press. He thinks he's some sort of wannabe dictator. In reality, thankfully, there are checks and balances in the system that can put a stop to him. But as far as his followers go, people like Christopher Hassan, those people are dangerous. Maybe we ought to look into right-wing terrorism a little bit more, especially since right-wing terrorists have been killing more people in America than Islamic extremists. So maybe you ought to focus on, I know, right-wing heads explode right now. But look, I'm not calling all right-wingers terrorists. That's ridiculous, right? No, we're calling people like Mr. Hassan, or Hassan, sorry, who was stockpiling literal weapons and trying to kill people and plotting to kill people. Those people are on the right wing. You don't plot to kill Democrats in the media if you're on the left. That's ridiculous. So, look, we got to look into right-wing terrorism. That is a serious issue. And unfortunately, the right wing right now continues to not be interested in looking at it. And they continue to lie constantly and shamelessly, like Sarah Sanders. It's really gross. Okay. Moving on. All right. Get the video ready here. All right. So Laura Ingraham is a right-wing pundit and she's on Fox News, and she believes that there is a conspiracy out there to not cover the Jussie Smollett story. Now, the Jussie Smollett story, of course, is basically where he has been arrested for allegedly plotting an attack on himself. And according to the Chicago police, he may have done so to further his career. Now, that is super, super gross. Dude, you want to do something like that to further your career? You're a terrible person. Come on. It's super damaging to the vast majority of people who actually do have hate crimes done upon them, right? So now that story, of course, has been dominating the media for the last few days since it broke. But what hasn't been covered, in comparison at least, as much, was the recent arrest of a heavily armed Coast Guard lieutenant who plotted to kill Democrats and members of the media. Now that man's name is Christopher Hassan, and he was recently taken into custody this week after officials found that the Coast Guard lieutenant has been stockpiling weapons and planned a killing spree against, as I said, Democrats and the media. Nonetheless, Laura Ingraham, she's going to try to use this example or this story as an example of anti-conservative bias in the media and Democratic victimhood. Take a look.
And it's important to understand the left's strategy here. They'll use fabricated tales of victimization to divert attention from other inconvenient truths. Now, remember, it was Smollett who crashed in and took the focus off of Virginia Governor Ralph Blackface Northam. Of course, and his Lieutenant Governor, Justin Fairfax, who is accused by at least 2 women of sexual abuse. Boy, that Virginia story faded fast, didn't it? And now that Smollett's anti-Trump drama has blown up, the media has jumped on the story of that whack job Coast Guard lieutenant who wanted to murder Democrat politicians. Again, this is so predictable, it's almost boring. But notice that when conservatives are truly victimized, physically attacked, when conservatives are actually targeted and shot for their political beliefs, like Congressman Steve Scalise, the media, they have no time for that. It's as if it never happened.
Wow. Oh, look at the projection. And by the way, I kind of like Blackface Northam. That was actually kind of funny. But look, that's because I'm not a fan of Ralph Northam. I actually was in favor of the other guy who was running the primary. Because we're like, Northam is too right-wing. And so guess what happened? We covered the Ralph Northam story as well. And a lot of outlets also covered it. And guess what? Democrats, Republicans, everybody condemned Northam. And look, I think he should step down. Plain and simple, I think he should step down because he is deeply racist. And that was deeply racist. All right. But anyway, now, let's break this down, right? So now I remember the shooting of Steve Scalise, right? Now that got, rightfully so, days and days of coverage. I mean, look, it's a serious situation. Yes, a congressman was literally shot. Now, look, we tied that in, a lot of outlets on the left, we tied that into, hey, maybe we should have better gun laws so that stuff like this doesn't happen. Now, the right wing, of course, went in a completely different direction. They said more guns and, oh, hey, let's go after Democrats. Well, now, wait a minute. Every, left-winger, every Democrat, liberal, progressive is like, hey, we think it's horrible what happened to Steve Scalise. You don't shoot your political opponents. We disavow this guy. He's a horrible person. He's not a real progressive because progressives don't answer problems with violence. They don't go after people that they disagree with through violence. That should be fairly clear. But anyway, now as far as the Smollett story, the same thing happened. So when the facts came out that, hey, Smollett is very likely he was arrested, right, for allegedly staging this attack, paying people to attack him so he can elevate his career. As soon as that came out, immediately condemnation from everybody. Well, now at first the details were murky, and so there were a few pundits and news outlets that were like, "Oh, hey, let's see what the facts are." And some even went further and wrongly, and I think that was irresponsible, saying, oh, no, we completely believe everything Jussie Smollett had said. Now, look, I didn't agree with that. But look, I think most of the news outlets should get credit for just reporting what we know, right? Without opinion, without commentary. They're just like, hey, this is what we know. This is what the police had said. And there you go. Now, I personally didn't cover the story because I didn't know if it was true or not. And there were things that didn't add up. But I was very hesitant to come out and say that because, again, there were those some, on the left that are saying, oh, how dare you not take everything at their word 100%. No, we should look into it. We should get the facts, right? And so now we have the facts as of right now, and it looks as though Smollett faked this attack. Now, that sets other victims of actual hate crimes back quite some time. Now, I think actual victims are, look, I think that when it comes to hate crimes, I think 9 out of 10 attacks are true. 9 out of 10 of these claims are true. There is that one claim that happens, yes, where people try to use that system, and that's horrible, right? But that doesn't invalidate the other 9 claims. Now, if Ingram wanted to say, hey, look, left-wing media, maybe you should be more responsible for some of those pundits that were irresponsible, how about you investigate before you do your commentary, before you make a judgment? And I would agree with that. I think that's completely fair, and I think that's the way you're supposed to actually do news. But that's not what Ingram is doing. No, what she is she's creating a narrative that the media is burying the story because, oops, it's inconvenient. Inconvenient. Well, now that's ridiculous, right? No, they're reporting on the story, and they're also reporting on other things that happen. Now, one of the reasons that the news has faded so fast of other things that have happened, by the way, is right now we live in an insane news cycle. So we have Donald Trump as president, which is just insanity after insanity after insanity, headline after headline every single day. It is very difficult to keep up with all the different news that is happening. So, now look, maybe that's a terrible defense. You can take that as you will, right? But the news cycle is inundated. So the reason that news stories fade so fast is because stuff keeps happening. So, and you've got to report it. Unlike Fox News that can stay fixated on, what, AOC? Look, I was browsing through the news today. Fox News had literally like a whole bunch of headlines just going after AOC for ridiculous things. You want to talk about journalism, right? Come on. So, look, the thing is, right, these are old important stories. The Jussie Smollett story is also important because of different reasons, but so is the Christopher Hassan story, or Hassan. I really don't know how to say his last name. But look, I actually want to show you why the Hassan story is actually more important than the Jussie Smollett story, even though it's getting less attention in the media. And it's not because, oh, they're going after Democrats. No. It's actually really important because, let me give you some of the information from a letter that Hassan wrote on his own computer, investigators found. He said, quote, and this is going to scare you, "I'm dreaming of a way to kill almost every last person on the earth. I think a plague would be most successful. But how do I acquire the needed Spanish flu, botulism, anthrax? Not sure yet, but I will find something." This guy literally wanted to murder billions of people. That's insanity. Now, in the last month, prosecutors also said that he used his work computer to draw up a list of prominent figures he called traitors and wanted to kill, including many well-known anchors and hosts on CNN and MSNBC, as well as a number of Democratic elected officials. Now, the list included, among others, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Maxine Waters, Senator Richard Blumenthal, whom he referred to as Senator Bloomin' Jew, just to show you where he's at, and many of the senators running for president in 2020. I mean, look, that's insanity. And this is what investigators have found. Both stories, obviously very, very important. But if you want to tell me the Smollett story, which, again, is important, is as bad, as is equivalent as a guy who literally planned to do massive domestic terrorism, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. And I think most people would look at the scale and be like, yeah, maybe things are a little bit, maybe this domestic terror plot from an obvious right-winger is kind of a big issue. And maybe, Laura, maybe instead of projecting, right, because look, that's what you do. You say, oh, the media is after me. Everybody's after us. We're the victims here. No, you're not. You are projecting. Maybe you should actually cover the news. Maybe you should actually agree that, oh, hey, this guy is dangerous. This is a crazy story. Maybe we should actually go out and, I don't know, condemn this. Now, you called him, what, a crazy person or a whack job? Okay. Well, how much time did you actually spend on doing that story? Not very much, right? No, this is just another case of a right-winger trying to make a conspiracy theory to make conservatives the victims. And you know what's funny is that her entire segment is about liberals making themselves victims. The irony here is delicious. Absolutely delicious. It's funny that the people who blast and yell about the victim mentality of the left, oh, they're all trying to be victims, all trying to be victims, always tend to come back to believe that they are the true victims. You can't be both perpetrators and victims at the same time. At least, not convincingly. All right. Conservatives, man. Insanity. Okay. Moving on. One more story until we take the break. All right. An ex-Trump campaign official has literally just turned on the president and is now suing to remove a non-disclosure agreement that she signed with the Trump campaign. Now, this is an interesting story. Now, the woman pictured is Jessica Denson. And the reason that she is trying to get rid of that NDA is so that she can talk about some alleged abuse that she received on the Trump campaign as a member of that campaign. So we don't know what kind of abuse that is, whether it was, was just normal, like people yelling at you, like, for example, Amy Klobuchar did to her own staff, right? There's those allegations coming out, of course, that she treats her staff very, very poorly. So it could be a case of that, or it could be worse. We don't know because she has an NDA. She can't actually say anything. So now, when asked by CNN's Alison Camerota what she was hoping to accomplish with her lawsuit to overturn her NDA, she said this, quote, "These NDAs are extremely dangerous. I think we're in a very dangerous time in our country, and I think we all need all hands on deck to confront the oppression and the lies coming out of the man who is supposed to be the leader of the free world." So look, I have some thoughts on this, right? For one, yeah, of course she's right. No kidding, right? Yes, we do need to confront the oppression and lies coming out of Trump. Of course. But why didn't you see that while you were a part of his campaign? It seems a little strange. Look, I gotta ask, right? The man's a pathological liar. How could you not know? He can't help himself. And look, we saw it way before, during the primaries. We saw this. We told you exactly who Donald Trump is and what he is about. Nobody listens. Not only that, but we told you, hey, the tax cut that he's giving to the rich is for the rich. It's not going to help you. You're going to end up paying more in taxes, and the rich are going to pay far, far less. Yeah. Oh, no. Libtard. Come on. You guys are like fake news media. Ha. No, we're going to save so much money for our tax. Oh, my God. We owe so much. What happened? We told you. You refused to listen to us. So it's really hard to feel bad for this girl. Nonetheless, I'm a lib, so I do feel bad. I know. Yeah. But look, there are numerous red flags, right? So the whole thing is like, I don't know if this is standard practice when it comes to a campaign, but an NDA, right? A non-disclosure agreement. To work for a campaign, you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement? That's a little strange. Again, to me, it seems shady, but maybe that's just my perspective, right? At least when it comes to the Trump campaign. And so maybe I'm being completely unfair. Maybe this is standard practice and whatever. Okay. Now, nonetheless, she's going to continue. She says, and she has a message for fellow Trump supporters. Quote, I think the supporters of this campaign should be among the most outraged, that they have been taken for fools and used. These NDAs say that someone who signed them will have a lifetime of allegiance to everything related to Trump, that if they dare do anything but praise and be a sycophant for this president, that their very livelihood will be threatened. This is un-American. This is unconstitutional. Those are strong words. That's very strong. And again, she's 100% right, but why didn't she see this before? I don't understand. I guess it takes time being around that person, being around the man, to understand what he's really about. Again, he lies constantly. And he's an idiot. But overall, I should say above all, one of the things that he requires to be around him is loyalty, absolute loyalty. And so that's what these NDAs are about. That's one of Donald Trump's defining traits, is demands loyalty, absolute loyalty from everyone around him. And look, if you don't give him that, well, then you're not part of the club. Now, these NDAs are a perfect example, and they may be acceptable in business, but look, in government, no, dude, anybody in government should be loyal first and foremost to the country. Now, I know in reality that's not true. The people are loyal to their political party. People are more loyal to their ideology. I get that. I don't agree with that. Whatever. But look, I think that you should be loyal to the country. You should want to serve, when you're in government or running, or inside a campaign. You should be doing so because you believe that the person who's going to run the country is the best person for that. And so, look, I don't know what the motivation is. Let's be honest. But I do know that Trump does not have loyalty to the country. He wants them to have loyalty to himself. And he's asked loyalty pledges from so many different officials, from James Comey to, other people in the FBI and other people around him in some of his cabinet positions. He has asked for that extreme loyalty pledge. And I think that's just super, super shady and super weird and very, very un-American, as I said before. And I think the fact that he does this, that he doesn't actually care about America, and where he puts his ego above everything else, is one of the reasons, one of the many, that he's not fit to serve. Okay. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We got more stories here, including AOC versus a billboard. That's fun. And then Roger Stone getting destroyed and getting dunked on social media. Love that story. So stay right here. We'll come back. We'll read some super chats, and we'll move forward. All right. We'll be back. Round the Nation. Welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here. Jeff Waldorf here with you. I'm reminded of something that I actually wanted to talk about yesterday. And that is, thanks you guys in the chat, by the way, talking about the bet between Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian on the Young Turks main show. That Cenk is very, he's convinced, right, that he will be right when it comes to Trump not serving till 2020, right? That Trump is going to get impeached or Republicans are going to turn on him. And Anna, of course, says absolutely not. The Republicans are scared of him, or they want him around for power, or whatever the reasons. They're not going to turn on him, and they're going to ride or die. So I'm sure some of you are wondering what side I'm on. I mean, I'm sure, right? Hashtag Team Anna. There's no... look, Cenk is somebody that I admire and respect, right? I think he's a super smart guy, really smart, really intelligent, makes good predictions, but I think he's 100% wrong. There's no way the Republicans are going to turn on Donald Trump. I said that the only way Republican politicians will turn on Donald Trump is if the base turns on Donald Trump. The base itself, right? Look, the Republican politicians are generally smarter than their base, with a few exceptions, right? They secretly despise Donald Trump. Behind their back, they talk all sorts of shit, right? But, but Trump himself, I mean, look, these politicians, again, they despise Trump, but they're afraid of their base. So the base, I don't believe that the base is turning. I mean, yes, that there are people that are really angry about their taxes, right? But there is that core, that less than 30%, the evangelicals that will never turn on Donald Trump. Those are the people that are ride or die, right? There are enough people, and the Republicans know this. There are enough people to continue them getting elected in their own little corner of their country, right? Little conservative corner of the country. And plus they know they got this shit gerrymandered, right? So that's really important. So they, instead of, the voters being in control of the politicians, right? The politicians get to control the voters. The politicians get to pick their voters, right? And so you have enough of that crazy that is still in that area that is pro-Trump, they can just draw around that and continue to win. I do not see, at least for now, I do not see Trump getting turned on by the GOP, at least in this, right? Mueller report, I'm really afraid of the Mueller report. And also, guys, remember, we're counting on Republicans to do the right thing. Are you serious? You're going to tell me that you guys think that the Republicans, some of you, right, think that the Republicans are going to be like, no, Donald Trump's a criminal, and golly gee, we better do the right thing and eliminate Donald Trump, get him out of here, while the base absolutely loves him and will completely revolt. I don't believe that's going to happen. I don't believe it. I don't believe it, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I don't believe it. I love you guys, and I know you guys have hope, but I do not have any hope. I don't think at all that they're going to turn. I don't think the Mueller report is going to be what it's been hyped up to be. So I'm now starting to be really convinced that it's going to be, oh, we looked into collusion, but it turns out there wasn't a whole lot of collusion. We can't really pin him on anything. Or there's a little bit here and there, but Republicans, you're going to have to make a choice in whether you care about that. And Republican politicians, they'll look at their base and they'll be like, don't care. Don't care. Hillary Clinton colluded with Russia more than Donald Trump. Therefore, we should investigate Hillary. I can almost guarantee something like that is going to happen. So again, Cenk, he's too optimistic. He's too hokey, optimistic, and I love him for it, right? Because again, he is basically the reason the Young Turks, he's the reason him and the Young Turks are they're the reason that I got into this in the first place. So, I look up to, I respect his opinion, but I think Anna's 100% right on this. There's no way Republicans are going to turn. So, no hope, no faith in any of that stuff. So I'm hashtag Team Anna. So we'll see who wins, right? We'll see who wins, but I mean, right now, it's not even a who wins situation because we all lose. No matter what, right now, we are all losing. But okay. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go to AOC. Hold on here. That was wrong. I gotta figure out how to work this thing. Or what I want to do with it. Okay. Now let's move on. Okay. No, that's the wrong one. Sorry. I should really know what I'm doing here. Okay. So Amazon recently announced that it would be pulling out a potential deal with New York. Now, they would have gotten about $3 billion worth of breaks and incentives in order to build their Amazon HQ2 in New York. Now, naturally, one of the people being given credit for this pullout is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, that's actually not who did this. Amazon themselves said, okay, we're going to pull out. Now, why is that? Well, that's because a lot of activists and politicians like AOC and others in progressives in New York, they fought against this and they said, look, why don't you unionize? Why don't you pay people what they should, and actually not take all these corporate giveaways and breaks in order to build here. It's grotesque that we have to pay you so much money so that you decide to come here and create jobs. Now, I want to give you one of those politicians, by the way, who was making an argument along with AOC, and that's Michael Gianaris. Now, Michael Gianaris is a vocal critic at the Amazon deal, and he said, quote, "There's no reason the richest among us can shake us all down to get as much of our public dollars as possible just to grace us with our presence. And today, New York took a stand." I already like this guy. I don't live in New York, but I'd vote for him. Because I love that. That's a strong statement, right? He also said, if the terms of their being here were a take it or leave it proposal that they put on the table, where they get $3 billion of our dollars and there was no discussion on making sure the housing market could accommodate them, that the subways would not be continuing to crumble as they are, that the schools would not continue to be overcrowded, none of those conversations happened. The only thing that happened was they said, give us your money or we're leaving. And if those are the terms, then it's a good thing that they left. So, nonetheless, conservatives were lightning focused on AOC. In fact, earlier today, there's a whole bunch of articles out in foxnews.com specifically attacking AOC for many different things. So now, one of the attacks, specifically, regarding this Amazon deal, actually turned into a billboard. Now, I want to show you that billboard. 25,000 lost New York Times jobs, $4 billion in lost wages, $12 billion in lost economic activity for New York. Thanks for nothing, AOC. So, look, I just told you, a lot of people, a lot of activists, a lot of regular New Yorkers were fighting against this deal. But apparently, it's all AOC's fault, because she's the only one who opposed the deal. Weird. Now, let me break down their argument, right? Oh, we're going to lose 25,000 jobs. Thanks, AOC. Wait. 25,000 potential jobs? look, unless there is an ironclad contractual guarantee that they will create those jobs at good wages, well, then if there's not a contract, then there's no guarantee that they will actually build those jobs. And look, if you're going to give them $3 billion in incentives, you better have an ironclad guarantee that you're going to get those jobs. There was none. There was none. And look, we've seen this movie before, right? We've seen companies promising jobs, getting tons and tons of tax breaks and incentives, and then they decide, oops, hey, it turns out we're not going to do those. We're going to create those jobs. Great example is the Foxconn deal. Now that Foxconn deal, they promised thousands of blue-collar jobs at decent wages. And guess what? As soon as they got the money, they said, oh, turns out we're not going to build a factory here. No, we're going to have maybe a couple thousand jobs that are white-collar, that are very, highly paid, highly sought-after technological jobs. No, look, those are good for the people that can get into there and do those jobs, right? But it was not what it was promised. But too late. Wisconsin just... I'm sorry, not Wisconsin. No, it was Wisconsin. Momentary brain fart here. But no, it was Wisconsin. And they said, yeah, we'll give you that money. And they already did. So they're out a lot of money. And that was the deal that Scott Walker had, negotiated, and Donald Trump had basically praised as, oh, it's a tremendous deal. Yeah. So now look, there's more, right? Lost wages, right? How can you really calculate lost wages? It's an unquantifiable number. You use the $25,000. Well then, okay. Or I'm sorry, 25,000 jobs. Okay. What about support jobs? That's a really hard number to quantify, guys. And so I think that while it might be based on some projections and we'd have to see the math, etc., it's really hard to tell how much economic activity and how much lost wages there really would be, right? A lot of these numbers, they're assumptions. So they're not locked in. So the point that I'm kind of pointing out here is that you can't trust a lot of these companies at their word. But so you have to be really skeptical about these deals. Now, getting back to the billboard, right? So now you notice that it's the Job Creators Network, right? Now, who is the Job Creators Network? I mean, AOC pointed this out, by the way, and she actually went after that on Twitter and said, few things effectively communicate the power we built in fighting dark money and anti-worker policies, like billionaire-funded groups blowing tons of cash on whack billboards. Now, this one, she points out, was funded by the Mercers. And she added that the fact that it's in Times Square tells you that this isn't for or by New Yorkers. So let's look at the funding, right? So the Mercers, right? Well, the company that put this up was the Job Creators Network. The Job Creators Network is, according to their own Wikipedia page, an advocacy group founded by Home Depot co-founder and former CEO Bernie Marcus. It describes its agenda as to promote small businesses and has been described as leaning conservative. So, we support small businesses, right? Like Amazon? I don't think Amazon qualifies as a small business. They're hugely profitable, right? In fact, I think last year they made $11.6 billion in profit. And as Media Matters reported back in 2017, the Job Creators Network is backed by the Mercer family. And the Mercer family happens to be one of the key financial backers of President Trump. Gee, I wonder if they actually don't care about Amazon, but actually care about a way for this to use this as an attack on AOC. AOC wants to raise their taxes, people like the Mercers. So, and ironically, she also wants to raise the taxes of Amazon. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. Weird. But anyway, she had another tweet here attacking them. She said, billionaires paying to put up anti-progressive propaganda in Times Square is like the obscenely rich version of the scene where Michael Scott points to the Bubba Gump and saying, this is it. This is the heart of civilization. right here. I want to give her massive points for making a reference to The Office. I love that show. But for those who don't really get it, who haven't seen The Office, who don't understand, the joke is that it's basically only out-of-town tourists that spend time in Times Square. That's where that billboard is located. It is not for regular New Yorkers. And it's funny because the whole point of the billboard is to say, oh, you've hurt New Yorkers so much. How dare you, AOC? Nah, man, this is for the rich people. It is for the rich, by the rich. And so that means it's not for New Yorkers, which New Yorkers, they didn't want to give up billions of dollars for this Amazon HQ2. No, if you're going to create jobs, then maybe you should do it without having to get lured in by massive tax cuts and incentives that take away from public works. We want a company that moves in to actually add to the public works and actually add to the economy without being bribed. Because if your company can't survive without bribes or won't go someplace without bribes, then maybe your company is not interested. Maybe we shouldn't be interested in having your company do business here. That's my thoughts on this. All right. Oh, crap. Okay. One more, but we're going to go over. Totally. All right. So Roger Stone is in a little bit of trouble. So recently, he appeared at a court hearing to beg the court for mercy. So why is he doing that? Well, recently, he did an attack meme against a judge in his case. Now, according to Courthouse News reporter Britton Aiken, Stone made up some excuses for that meme that attacked the judge. So we're going to go to some of his excuses, right? And it's fun. Now, first he claimed that a staffer or volunteer had posted a meme. Now, that meme had the judge and crosshairs. So, look, that's problematic, right? It's hugely, hugely problematic. Now, because, of course, there are people that will take that literally and could possibly endanger the judge's life. So now, he also said, oh, no, you know what? Turns out it wasn't a staffer and volunteer. I posted it. And when Judge Amy Berman Jackson probed him further, he clarified that the volunteer sent him the image, but he was the one who uploaded it. So that's pretty willful, right? Not a mistake, not an accident. He looked at that and said, yes, I love it. I'm going to post it. What a moron. He then said it was a mistake, an error in judgment. And then, well, it turns out that the judge didn't believe it. Who knew, right? She questioned his sincerity and wanted to know if she told InfoWars that the attention over his Instagram meme was an example of the media making him a target. She asked, quote, I want to know if you said that. To which he replied, yes, but said that he felt the media was adding malicious intent to a photo that he didn't notice even had crosshairs on it. Oh, come on, man. Do you not know how to lie? Do you actually ever tell the truth, Roger Stone? Of course not. That is such a weak defense. Moving on. Eakin quoted prosecutor Jonathan Kravis. He said, quote, the defendant's testimony at this hearing was not credible. He said that Stone's apologies are belied by his testimony. Even after he realized the Instagram post was a mistake, he continued to make media statements echoing its message, which is Mueller equals deep state hitman. The hashtag fix is in. Jackson also said that she was concerned that Stone used this platform to, quote, incite others who may feel less constrained, and that it poses a risk that others with violent inclinations might be inflamed. She called his actions deliberate and called him out on not being able to keep his story straight. So I love this. She also went after his apology, calling it, quote, hollow. She also decided that she would give him a gag order. No more posting on social media. No more making public appearances, except there is one small exception, so he can fundraise for his defense. So, Roger Stone, I'm so broke. Oh, I need money for my defense. Can you please chip in? Well, the judge says, well, at least you can still do that. I mean, it's super, super pathetic. But go ahead. And of course, I'm adding that. Now, she says, there will be no third chance. If you violate the gag order again, you're going to go to jail. So you will not pass go. You will not collect $200. You're going to get your ass to jail. You're done. One more chance. You got one more chance. We'll see what happens. Now, here's to the fun part. Now, the internet responded to this news. The littlest cretin says, I'll be glad when this is over, just so that we don't have to hear one more word about Roger's taint. In regards to them, of course, tainting the hearings, right? R2 No says, this is the kicker. He makes a living off opening his fat mouth, but that means now he's profiting off his attempts to taint the jury pool and threaten the judge. This cannot stand, and he cannot be trusted. I vote full gag order. Rachel Weiner says, now Stone says a volunteer chose the image, but he posted it himself. Judge Jackson, like all of us, says, wait a minute, didn't you just say 5 minutes ago? Allie Van Z wants to cut to the point. She says, just throw him in jail already. Lock him up. Lock him up. Lock him up. Kyle Griffin says, to Stone's claim that he did not recognize the image and believed it to be a Celtic symbol, here's another image from Stone's Instagram account from February 12th, to which he writes, I am in Mueller's crosshairs. And of course, it has another image just like that. Fascinating. Elam McKnight says, jail that tail. Cindy Noel says, so he had not one, but 2 lapses of judgment. What are the chances for 3? I'd say it's a pretty good chance. Renegade Cowboy says, lock him up. It's clear he's not sorry. Even on Facebook, he liked an article saying that people were lying about him. Sassy T says, dude, she sounds like me trying to get my oldest daughter to confess to something I knew she did when she was 10. There's a lot of great social media on this. Let's see. Darren Samuelson says, Stone says he didn't realize the crosshairs was in his photo until he got a call from a reporter. How would you not notice? Are they somehow blind? I don't... No, Roger Stone's not a stupid person. You could argue that he's a terrible person, but I don't think he's dumb. No, I think he knew it was there. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. He was sending that picture out to say, look, I'm being attacked. Donate to my campaign. Help me out. To my GoFundMe, right? That's what he's trying to do. They are targeting me. Conservatives, they get triggered by that, right? And they go, oh my God, they're coming after you. They're coming after you. We're going to help you. We're going to help you. We're being victimized. You're one of us. You're being victimized. We're going to help you. Don't worry about it. That's how they work. It's all about fear. It's all about being a potential victim, right? When in reality, Roger Stone is not a victim. He's the aggressor. There's more. Let's see. Speaking of that point, Eric Kanoki says, and worth repeating, Roger Stone has repeatedly issued violent threats against his supposed political enemies. Violent rhetoric is part of his online behavior. And there's, of course, links to Media Matters, where Roger Stone has been shown to have gone after his enemies. He is a conspiracy theorist, and he continues to spread these conspiracies to go after his political opponents and to rile up the base so that they possibly might do something violent. It is stochastic terrorism. It's like, well, I mean, these people are violent and they're gross and they're terrible and they're targeting me. Won't somebody please do something about it? Without actually literally calling for violence. And people that are not mentally stable or have violent tendencies, it's a very different message than if you're just a normal person. So there's more. Carolyn Orr says Roger Stone just told the court that he thought the crosshairs in the picture he posted of Judge Amy Berman Jackson depicted a Celtic cross. The Celtic cross he is referring to is a notorious white supremacist symbol. Rick Wilson says it's Wednesday, or as I like to call it, Roger Stone's last 24 hours of freedom. Two more here. Two more. H.R. Vaughn says he can't make it up. The Roger Stone collection now sold on Donald's campaign website. And finally, Impercipient says, if Roger Stone is broke, won't going to jail save him money? Generally not, but look, he is begging for donations. That's part of this. That's part of why he has been saying this. I'm being attacked. Help me. I need money. And that's what conservatives love to do. So, look, Stone, I think he's really lucky that the judge decided not to do a full gag order on him. That are actually she's still actually allowing him to fundraise and to go on InfoWars and talk about fundraising. So I think she should have, or at least she had the power to be able to do that, to say, no, you can't raise money. You can't do any of that stuff. Shut up and don't taint the jury pool. So, I mean, we'll see if he, keeps his word and he doesn't have a third lapse of judgment, although I could totally see it happening, because after all, it is Roger Stone, and Roger Stone is a terrible person. He knows exactly what he's doing, and so if I definitely see him abusing this last chance. Hear me now, quote me later. Okay. All right, that's it. So, I'm done. Not that quite done. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Thank you for the super chats. By the way, there was one from Elwell, says happy Friday, and donated for the camera. Thank you, Elwell. I appreciate that. We're gonna get a really nice camera. So thank you so much for that. All right. So I'm out of here for the weekend. Thank you guys. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. TYT is next. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.